If you want to learn how to take trades like this with very tight stop loss, you can see this is 12.9 RR, this is 12.9 RR, and this is 6.4 RR. I registered for Tony Light mentorship around June last year, and these are the most important thing I learned in his advanced mentorship program. So the only thing I learned and I put into practice in my trading is how you can use very specific areas to take trades and to cash very high win rate. The good thing about this strategy is that you can target more RR. So according to his own market structure, I don't actually use his own market structure. I use normal SMC market structure where I do top-down analysis. The only thing I pay attention to most is entry patterns. So for this video, I'll be talking about what he talks about in the market structure. I will also be showing you how you can use the entry patterns to take your trades. I will be explaining when to use the order block and when to use the breaker block to take your trades. The market structure and the point of interest. The main thing you should pay attention to when trading is your market structure. So what I do personally is top-down analysis. Tony himself did just count higher highs, higher lows, and then he take his entry. But what I understand and I find to be very effective is when you do the top-down analysis and then you use this entry pattern I'm about to show you for your point of interest to take your trades. So let's say market is moving in higher highs. The first thing you want to pay attention to is break of structures to the upside or the downside. So the break of structure is very, very important. This is the first thing you want to pay attention to. And the second thing you want to pay attention to is market structure shift. So what is market structure shift? Let's say market has been generating series of higher high. So you want to see market shift the structure. So when you see market breaks below this low, which is a protected low, so you know as market has shift structure and what you should focus next on where market can tap in, which is our POI, to take our trade to send market to the downside. Everything I'm saying here is opposite to the downtrend. Pay attention to break of structure, pay attention to market structure shift. Once you have this break of structure over here to the upside, so what we anticipate is to look for a point of interest around this point where market can react from to send price to the upside. And once this low fails to send price to the upside and it is broken to the downside like this, what we pay attention to is to look for a point of interest around this area to send price to the downside. So this can be an order block, or we can also look for breaker block around this point to send price to the downside. So don't worry, I will show you how you can do both. That is basically what we look for in the market structure. So the point of interest, so what we want to pay attention to when we are choosing our point of interest is bullish or bearish engulfing candle. Let me show you a small diagram so that you can understand better. This is the bearish candle, and then we have this candle to the upside, which is a bullish candle. This is a bullish engulfing candle because this bullish candle, this green candle, is engulfing the black candle. This is a very high probability point of interest that we use according to how Tony taught it in his mentorship. So I see it to be very effective also. So I will show you an example on chart so that you can understand better. While for the bearish engulfing, so you can see over here, this bearish candle is engulfing this bullish candle. So this is a high probability bearish engulfing candle, and this is high probability bullish engulfing candle. So the wick does not matter. The most important thing we want to pay attention to is the body of the candle. So let me use these areas for my example before I talk about breaker block and other blocks. Market generates high, low, high, and a lower low. So before we have market break this structure to the downside over here, what do we expect? We want market to rally to a particular area where market can test to send price to the downside. Market first generates liquidity over here where it is likely to take out. You can see this liquidity, we have an engulfing candle. This is invalid. Why did I say that? Because the first pullback, the first valid pullback that market makes after it breaks structure, major structure to the downside, this is liquidity. And you can see over here, we have a bearish engulfing candle around this point. But here I use my bullish engulfing candle from the higher time frame, that is the 15 minutes time frame, to take my trade to the downside. What you see on the higher time frame, if you go to the higher time frame, the lower time frame is printing according to the higher time frame. So if I do my top-down analysis, I know the direction of the market. So once I come to this 5 minutes time frame, 15 minutes time frame, 1 hour time frame, I already know areas where I need to take my trade. And if you look over here, market is generating low, high, low, and we have a rapid move to the upside that breaks structure. So we have this high, market generates a pullback, which I said it is a valid pullback, which is also a liquidity. Market come to sweep it, taps into a bullish engulfing candle around this point for our entry to send market to the upside. I also choose my points of interest from the higher time frame. So let me go to the 15 minutes time frame so that you will understand what I'm saying better. This is a bullish engulfing candle. So I took my entry from the lower time frame. You can see over here, entry around this point. You can also use this candle also to take your entry. You will also have a nice RR. Then over here, you see this engulfing candle. You can see market tap into it to send price to the upside. So when do we use breaker block and when do we use order block? Let's talk about order block first. We have market going higher high. What is sending this price to the upside is an order block at this point, then an order block at this point. So this order block, like I said, it is also a point of interest, but I am not only using the order block, I am focusing more on the engulfing candle, which can be the bullish engulfing candle or the bearish engulfing candle. This is a very good example. Low, high, break of structure. This is the break of structure. So once you have that, you look for a engulfing candle, which can be at this point to send price to the downside, but this is bullish to send price to the upside. While for the breaker block, there is a failed order block. You can see over here, this order block fails to send price to the upside. So once you have the break of this order block, this turns to a breaker block. Then what you expect is market to come, activate at this point to send market to the downside, to break another structure to the downside. So this is what we call MSS, that is market structure shift. So let me show you an example. You can see at this point, high, low, small high, and a low. Then we have the break of this high around this point. So now market is likely to change direction to the upside. So we look for either breaker block or order block, which is supposed to send price to the downside, but market has broken it. Then you can see that we have a valid pullback around this point, but the pullback is below the breaker block. Breaker block is invalid. That is the only way you can know when a breaker block will hold or when a order block will hold. So as long as this breaker block has been broken with the first reverse to the downside, which is the liquidity, so we look forward to a engulfing candle, which we can use for our order block to send price to the upside. We enter our trade here, our stop loss can be as tight as possible because the liquidity has been swept. So markets have no reason to sweep below this order block again to send price to the upside. So let me show you one example where the breaker blocks works very perfect. Market generates low, high, low, high, low, and a high. Then we have the break of this low over here. If we go to the lower time frame, you will see the low very clearly. So once you have the break of this low, market made a pullback, but the pullback did not go above the breaker block. When the pullback goes above the breaker block will not hold. But when the pullback did not go above the breaker block is likely to hold. We also have an order block at this point. And the second thing you should pay attention to is that the liquidity is closer to the breaker block than the order block, and it is not sweeping the breaker block, then the breaker block is likely to hold the price. See, this is our liquidity, this small I over here. Then we use a breaker block for entry. Stop loss can be as tight as you want, and we target this low that brings about this high. That is a 9 RR trade. So that is basically what Tony Light teaches us, and I see it to be very, very effective when trading the SMC concept. So after this, I want you to go back on your chart and backtest this for yourself. Follow the engulfing candle. You can use it to take your area of interest from the higher time frame and go to your lower time frame to pick points of interest that you can use for your entries. So it is very, very effective. It has high win rate. So if you find value in this video, I want you to like this video. So one thing you should know is that this works on all markets, but you need to practice. You can also check out my other videos that are displaying right now on your screen. Thanks for watching.